What's up, guys? It's Eric from Eric Haney, and welcome back to the top 4 match of the recent Wilmington, North Carolina League Cup that we got to go attend. So if you guys did miss it, we did post the top 8 match as well, so definitely go check that out. We actually featured an interesting Gourgeist deck in that match, so definitely check that out, like I said, if you have not seen that one as well. But so going on to the top 4 match, we have a Gardevoir mirror match. How exciting. I feel like a lot of people probably don't want to see that, but hey, it is an important deck to know how to play against, especially if you plan on playing Gardevoir at an event. It's definitely, I think, important to get practice against the mirror match, or at least watch some other people, do the same. So actually here on the left you have yours truly. I'm going to be playing Gardevoir GX, and on the right we have Steven Hunter playing Gardevoir GX as well. So these lists are actually pretty similar. These are both going to be the max potion kind of variants of Gardevoir. Steven does play, I think, 1 or 2 cards different from my list, but I think probably most of the cards are going to be the same. It's going to be mainly a mirror match. So I wasn't paying attention to what I started with, but it looks like I have 2 Pokemon to start with. I have an N in hand as well, so no first turn Bridget on my part, but at least we have a couple basics and an N, so it doesn't seem too bad. It looks like Stephen Mulligan, so I'm going to get an extra card as well, so who knows, I might even be able to hit the first turn Bridget with these mulligans he's been giving me. Okay, it looks like he does have a basic. It looks like it's going to be a Mr. Mime. That's definitely not his ideal starter. He does have a Tapu Lele in hand, but I'm sure he wants to save that for, grabbing a Bridget or something like that. So here Steven is going to go first. He's going to get down a Remoraid. I'm sure he's happy to see that. And it looks like he actually has Bridget in hand, so that's actually really strong. He doesn't even have to... Okay, well it looks like he is thinking about going for a Lele instead. Okay. So maybe he saw that I got some extra mulligan cards and he wanted to go for the N to put myself at a lower hand size. So I've got to say though, I think that's that might be getting a little bit greedy. I think it's better just to ensure that you get all of your basics down. Play the Bridget, get your 3 basics, and then save the Tapu Lele for next turn to maybe grab an N then or a Sycamore. So maybe he just assumed, with my hand size and the extra mulligans, I probably had exactly what I needed, but I don't know, definitely a little bit of a risky play, I think. But I do want to mention this. Steven wanted me to mention we were both really tired at this point. I think we had both been up for like 12 hours at this point. So there might be a little misplay here and there. So just a little bit of a warning for you guys. And here Steven actually gets his own parallel city. So that's actually really big. That is going to limit my bench size to only 3 Pokemon. And here he's just going to pass. But I do actually open with a Field Blower, so that is perfect. And I have the Tapu Lele GX in hand to grab a Bridget of my own. So I'm not sure how many copies of Parallel City Steven plays, but that could be a very important card in this matchup since Gardevoir is so reliant on setting up a huge bench full of multiple Pokemon. So here I'm going to grab an Alolan Vulpix, probably a Remoraid, and then maybe just another Ralts afterwards. So just taking a peek at what all is in my deck. This is the first time I've gotten to search my deck for the game, so I kind of just want to take a peek through and see, what might be in my prizes and what I have access to throughout the course of the game here. And one thing that's actually... Well, never mind. I thought I saw something bad might be prized, but I'm not sure yet. So let's see. Just going to retreat and probably just use Beacon to grab 2 Pokemon out of the deck. So going to grab... probably Gardevoir GX, that seems really good. And looks like Octillery. So one thing I was having a hard time seeing though was I might actually have some Gardevoir GX prized in this game. I didn't really see many in the deck while I was searching through right there. So that could be a problem. So a couple things I want to make note of is how many max potions I have, Parallel City, how many Gardevoirs I have, also Super Odd. These are going to be all very important cards in the matchup. So here, Steven's going to go for a Guzma on the Remoraid, seeing that I got Octillery out of my deck, so maybe, that could be a good play on his part, because if I had a dead hand and he saw me searching out the Octillery, that could have actually left me with a dead hand, but I luckily do have an Ultra Ball. I have an N in hand ready to go, so I definitely have some ways to deal with this. So actually all I need this turn is just a Fairy Energy and a double Colress Energy, and I actually can just take a knockout on this Tapu Lele GX. Since Gardevoir GX's infinite force attack is 30 times the amount of energy on both active Pokemon. So Steven already has the double Colress and Fairy Energy, so let's see what I'm going to get here. And not a single energy, so that's actually quite annoying, to be honest. This was definitely a big missed opportunity on my part here. So maybe I go for a Super Odd, try to get some Pokemon back into the deck. Just going to pass for right now though, just because I don't want to draw them on my next turn. I would rather top deck into like an energy or something like that, so I'd rather play the Super Odd right before I play a supporter if necessary. So, you know, even though, you know, I've got a lot more Ralts in play, you know, Steven's definitely not in the worst situation. I whiffed a knockout here. He's already up a prize, and here he's just going to end both of us into a new hand. So that's fine by me. I'm really not in any danger of being knocked out by this Tapu Lele. Right now it's only hitting for, I believe, 60 damage, since Tapu Lele does 20 for each energy on both active Pokemon. So kind of a weaker version of Gardevoir GX's attack. So I might only get hit with 60, but you never know. If Steven gets a little bit greedy, he could actually attach some more energy and make it easier for me to knock out. But here he's going to go for a Choice Band. I actually like this play from him. He has a Fairy Energy in hand, but he probably doesn't want to attach that to the Lele. So what am I going to do here? So I actually have a Fairy Energy I can use. I can Secret Spring that onto the Gardevoir. So I need 3 energy total. So I need the Fairy Energy and double Colress Energy, or I need Fairy Energy. Well, here, this is actually, I think, a misplay on my part. I remember thinking it like immediately after doing it too. So I'm going to play a supporter to try to hit DCE here, or Choice Band. Either of those would have gotten me a knockout, but I think the better play, instead of attaching the Fairy Energy for turn, I should have Sycamored it away and try to dig for a DCE to guarantee the knockout, since I could still hit a Choice Band and take a knockout, but it's a lot less likely. So here I'm going to Sycamore into a fresh hand. No Choice Band, but I do hit the double Colress Energy. So, like I said, as soon as I attached that extra Fairy Energy, I knew that I had misplayed here. But you know what? It's not the end of the world. I can just kind of sit back and build up my board a little bit while, you know, Steven, you know, take some knockouts on some of these weak Pokemon, like a Alolan Vulpix, for example. I actually don't mind if he does knock it out, because I'd rather use that bench space for a Remoraid. So here Steven is going to get a Fairy Energy on Ralts, and he's going to play N. So, you know, one thing I might even try to do is, if I can get a double Colress Energy, I could actually maybe Guzma up that Ralts and take a knockout on it if Steven doesn't evolve it. That's one thing I could potentially do, because Steven doesn't have many Ralts in play yet. But I did see Rare Candy. I think I saw an Ultra Ball as well, so that play might not be an option for me after this turn, so we'll see. So he's going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of Gallade, and I think that's a Guzma. Oh, actually going for the Octillery, okay. So maybe Steven didn't have much of a hand to work with. I didn't see everything in there. So if he didn't have a draw supporter for the next turn, Octillery I think is a good move on his part. He could still end up hitting the Gardevoir he needs. So he gets a Curlia, it's better than nothing, but here he's just going to do 60, taking a knockout on this Alolan Vulpix. So even though he is going up in prizes, he is freeing up bench space for me to, you know, get some better Pokemon. And okay, so this is actually pretty good. It's going to create kind of an awkward play for me, but you know, I think we'll be able to take a knockout on this Curly. So what I can do here actually is, we have a double Colress Energy and a Fairy Energy. I can just Secret Spring the Fairy Energy onto a Tapu Lele, attach DCE for turn to the Lele, and then I could actually go for a Guzma play on this Curlia, knocking it out. You know, that would leave an, you know, a window of opportunity for this Tapu Lele to, you know, swing back on me, but I'm completely fine with that actually. If I can take out his Ralts and Curlias before they get set up, I would much rather deal with Tapu Leles than opposing Gardevoir GXs. And here I actually hit a max potion off the prizes. That's really big here. I will be able to heal off that Gardevoir GX if Steven is unable to take a knockout on it. So here Steven's going to Super Rod, getting back, it looks like a Ralts, an Energy, and a Curlia. So, you know, Steven, like I say, he is up in the prize trade, but his board is getting a little bit fragile. He definitely needs to get another Ralt in play as soon as possible. So it looks like Steven might actually be going for potentially a knockout on this Tapu Lele. So right now, looks like he has 2 double colorless energies and a fairy energy, so that's 100 damage. Then 24, looks like he's doing 160 right now. If he hits a choice band, he can actually take a knockout here. But if... Okay, and I'm actually completely fine with this because I have Max Potion ready to go on this Gardevoir GX next turn, and I can just easily return KO this Tapu Lele. So normally I have to admit in these Gardevoir mirror matches, it's not as Tapu Lele heavy, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. You know, he doesn't have his Gardevoirs up online yet, and he's been able to take prizes if he were to commit the energy to the Lele, so that's been the route he's going. But here he's going to Ultra Ball, a Curlia, and a Max Potion. I am completely fine with that. You know, I don't know how many Max Potions Steven plays, but every Max Potion that hits the discard is going to be good news for me. Because a big part of this Gardevoir mirror match is just poking your opponent's opposing Gardevoirs with just like 1 energy attached. Then your opponent swings back on you for, you know, an equal amount of small damage. You Max Potion it off and then attach a bunch of energy and knock out their Gardevoirs. That's kind of the general strategy. So let's see what I'm going to opt to do here, though. I am going to Ultra Ball an Ultra Ball and something else, some other gold card. Did not see what it was. But it looks like I'm going to go for a Remoraid. I like that idea because I'm going to go down 2 more prizes, and I want to be able to start setting this Octillery up, you know, just in case that I get too far ahead in the prize trade. I don't want to get end into like a hand of nothing. So let's see what we're both going to draw here. You know, Steven already does have that Octillery online, so the end won't punish him that much here. But man, this is actually kind of an annoying situation because, I mean, I can definitely take a knockout here, but the only downside is I'm going to leave this Tapu Lele vulnerable to getting knocked out. If I had a Fairy Energy, I could have just retreated and I believe have taken a knockout, but unfortunately I did not get that lucky here. So here Steven, yeah, he just needs that 1 double colorless energy. He's going to be able to knock out this Tapu Lele, but luckily next turn I have the Fairy Energy in hand. If I can get that Fairy Energy and 1 more, I will be able to return KO this Tapu Lele. So here he's going to go for a Professor Sycamore. Ooh, I actually have Guzma in hand as well, so that gives him... Ooh, I have Octillery, I have Max Potion, so I actually have a couple of plays at my disposal for next turn. So let's see what Steven is going to do here. That'll probably determine what direction I take this. Just want to point out, Steven has yet to get a Gardevoir GX online. Definitely not good for him. I mean, these Lele's for him have been kind of putting in a lot of work. He's going to basically take 4 prizes in total throughout the course of a game thanks to just Tapu Lele, but he's definitely going to need this Gardevoir at some point to, I think, clean up the game. Alrighty, and here he's going to use Abyssal Hand to draw another card. And here just take a knockout with Tapu Lele, like I mentioned. Alrighty, so what I'm actually thinking about doing is I could just knock out this Tapu Lele, but that doesn't really do too much for me. You know, Steven will have a Gardevoir in hand ready to go for next turn anyways. So what I'm thinking about doing is attaching the Fairy Energy to Gardevoir. But yeah, I'm going to bring up this Curly because we saw Steven go for the Gardevoir GX. We know he would be able to evolve into it. So what I can do here is attach the Fairy Energy. I'm going to use Abyssal Hand, just draw a few more cards, evolve into another Curlia, that's good. And what I can do is knock out this Curlia, going down to 2 prizes, and Steven's only attacker right now is a Tapu Lele, so if he does promote that, you know, I'm 1 energy away from taking a knockout on it for my last 2 prizes. So that's kind of my game plan right now, just kind of forcing Steven to attacking with a Lele. You know, I feel like he's probably a little smart for that. I don't know if he will actually attack with it or not, but he definitely wants to promote it since it does have energy. He can retreat it at some point. Okay, so he has another Curly. Does he have a rare candy? that's the only thing we have not seen. So it looks like he's going to attach Fairy Energy and maybe just Abyssal Hand for one. Okay, he's going to Super Rod first. That's definitely fine, I think. He can play down his hand a little bit to draw some more cards with Octillery. So I'm sure he is digging for a rare candy here. So let's see what he's going to opt to get back. I feel like Energy at this point is probably what's best. So that's fine. That's pretty much what he needs to close out the game at this point. He really can't afford to set up many Gardevoir since I only need to knock out one to win the game anyway. So I think just ensuring he can draw energy when he needs it is going to be important. But here he does not have a rare candy to even get out Gardevoir, so he just has to retreat into Mr. Mime and pass. So I could definitely just knock out the Mr. Mime, but you know, I feel like I just want to take one more GX knockout to win the game, and I think at this point I've actually gone through several Guzmas as well. So if that's the case, you know, I might just opt to Twilight GX here and actually strand the Mr. Mime in the active spot. So here I'm going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of a Fairy Energy and a Bridget. So just taking a look what all is in my deck. I can grab a Gallade, that's actually half decent. That way I can make use of that Premonition ability. So Gallade, it's a decent attacker, but its ability when you have Octillery in play especially is so strong. So it has that Premonition ability. Get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and rearrange them in any order. So let's see what I can do here. So I'm just going to use Premonition, rearrange those top 5 cards. And so actually, you know, what I can do here is actually think I might have a game plan lined up. So what I can do is use Abyssal Hand, draw into this Tapu Lele, and actually what I can do is use Twilight GX to put all of my Guzmas back into my deck to actually get with Tapu Lele on the next turn as well. So here I'm just going to get down an extra energy on this Curlia. That way next turn I will be able to retreat it with a Guzma. So I'm going to use Twilight GX here. Like I said, I like this play better. I just kind of want to take one GX knockout just to seal up the game. So you can see I'm putting in a bunch of Guzmas, Double Colorless Energy, Choice Band, Ultra Ball, Max Potion. So basically if I get End, I want to draw into ways to, you know, still pull off this play basically. So maybe, so if I get End and I have a bunch of Ultra Balls and Lele's in my deck, you know, I'll have a higher odds of drawing into them to get the Guzma to actually win. So that seems pretty good, and in the worst case situation that plan falls through, I did put a Max Potion back in there as well, so I can kind of continue my normal, you know, tank hits with Gardevoir type of strategy that I have going on. So let's see how Steven's going to respond. Now the only risky thing is that my Gardevoir has a DCE and Fairy Energy on it right now. So if Steven's able to get a massive Gardevoir powered up somehow to take a return knockout on me, that would be pretty bad. But I'm honestly not sure if he can do it. He'll need to get Mr. Mime out of the active spot. He'll need another Gardevoir GX. And you know, he'll need just a ton of stuff, and I don't think he can make that happen. If he plays Floatstone, maybe he could hit for enough, because right now he's doing 90 without any energy of his own, 120 with one Fairy, you know, 50, 80 with a Double Colorless Energy. So if he plays Floatstone, I think he might be able to pull it off, but I think generally I'm pretty safe here. So Steven really needs an N. I think that's going to be the big thing. So here it looks like he's going to probably Secret Spring onto the Gardevoir GX. And looks like he's eyeing down attaching another energy to the Curlia. So maybe he's thinking about going the Gallade route, but here he's going to evolve into another Gardevoir GX, that's fine. Here he's just going to pass. Oh, and I actually just top decked the Guzma just outright. So what I can do here is attach DCE, Secret Spring. I can Guzma up either Lele or the Gardevoir GX with 2 energy, and I can use Infinite Force to take the last knockout of the game. So kind of an awkward game we had there. We saw a lot of Tapu Lele action. Normally isn't how it goes with Gardevoir, but you know, like I said earlier, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, if you can take easy knockouts with Lele, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. But luckily for Steven, this is a best 2 out of 3 series, so he will have 2 more games to potentially come back and take this series. But of course, you know, I ideally don't want him to do that, but he does have the opportunity to do so. So let's see how this next game goes. Like I said, typically the Gardevoir mirror match plays out a little bit differently in my experience. Typically you're mainly trying to just, usually with a single fairy energy, attack your opponent's Gardevoirs for like 60 to 90 damage, depending on how much energy they have. They usually attack back for an amount that doesn't knock you out since you only have 1 energy attached to you. You max potion yourself off, and then since your opponent's Gardevoir is softened up, you can go in and commit a bunch of energy to finish it off. That's kind of usually how this matchup goes in my experience, so maybe you will see a little bit more of that this game. So here I am going to mulligan. It's definitely not what I want to see, especially since Steven is getting to go first. I hate to give him extra cards if I know I can't at least end him out of them. So it looks like I see an Ultra Ball in Steven's hand. I think I saw an end, so he definitely has some options. I'm sure he's going to go for that first turn Bridget. And actually, I got a pretty decent hand of my own. I start with a Alolan Vulpix, which is probably the best starter if you're going second here. And I have the Tapu Lele GX in hand, so I can use Wonder Tag to grab a Bridget of my own. So let's see, Steven is going to Ultra Ball a Gallade and a double Colress Energy. That's a little bit unfortunate. He has to get rid of the double Colress Energy, definitely a very important card in this matchup. So I'm sure we're going to see a Tapu Lele GX going for a Bridget. And okay, yeah, so Steven is going to go for the Bridget this time. So I'd imagine we'll probably just see maybe like 3 Ralts. Even that seems like a good play, maybe a Alolan Vulpix. So yeah, definitely pretty good. This is going to be a great first turn for Steven. You know, he might even consider retreating into the Alolan Vulpix to get Ralts out of harm's way, but even if he has to leave it active, it's not a big deal. And here I top deck another Tapu Lele GX, so I have plenty of options at this point. So I'm going to Tapu Lele, mimicking probably what Steven did. Going to grab that Bridget. Going to grab a Ralts. Probably another Ralts and a Remoraid. That seems like probably the best course of action here. And just also taking a peek through my deck, like I mentioned in the first match, just to see what all is in my prizes. And yeah, gonna grab that Remoraid. So kind of a similar start from both of us this game, but here I can also just use Beacon to grab 2 more Pokemon out of my deck with that Alolan Vulpix's first attack. So I can attach a Fairy Energy, but honestly that kind of makes me susceptible to like a Guzma DCE play from a Lele, so I might just be a little bit conservative here and hang on to what I have, and then just use Beacon to grab 2 more Pokemon. So go for Octillery, and probably just a Curlia. If I have Rare Candy in hand, I would imagine I'd go for a Gardevoir, but if not, I think Curlia is just fine. That seems pretty good. And last game, Steven did go kind of like aggro Lele to knock out my Remoraid, but if he does decide to go that route, this time I still have another Tapu Lele GX in hand to bail me out of having a dead hand if need be. So let's see what Steven's going to do. He's going to Rare Candy into Gardevoir, so definitely a super strong start from him, and then just an end. So attaching a double Colorless Energy, it looks like. So if he gets Fairy Energy, he will be able to take a knockout on this Alolan Vulpix. And, you know, start putting pressure on with his Gardevoir GX. And what I'd ideally like here is maybe like Rare Candy Gardevoir, you know, some sort of draw support and a Fairy Energy. That would be great. Okay, so I have the Octillery, that's good. Have another Ralts, so I think I'm going to be okay here. And Steven does get the Fairy Energy, so we are going to see this Alolan Vulpix get knocked out. So going to promote a Ralts. We have another one in hand, so we can just bench that thing. Going to bench Octillery. And I could have played Octillery to draw until I had 5 cards, maybe trying to get a Rare Candy into a Gardevoir, but it would only have been 1 card. I feel like it'd be better here to go for the N, try to get a new hand to get the Rare Candy Gardevoir, and if that doesn't work, then use Abyssal Hand. I just feel like the odds were a little, you know, skewed, not in my favor to hit what I needed here, so. And so Steven's going to get a new hand of 5 cards since he did take a knockout, and I am going to get a fresh hand of 6. I do have Rare Candy Gardevoir, and actually this is pretty workable. I can maybe draw some extra cards to get an energy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a Curlia out of the deck. That way I can start working on powering up another Gardevoir. And so I'm going to use Rare Candy Gardevoir to evolve into the active one. And ideally, I'm just going to attach a single Fairy Energy and try to just ping this active Gardevoir for like 120 damage. I definitely don't want to commit any more energy than I have to, but here I'm going to use Abyssal Hand, going to draw until I have 5. And I do hit the Fairy Energy, so that's actually pretty big. So I could attach the double Colorless Energy as well, but honestly, I think that will just make it too easy for Steven to take a knockout. And here, yep, just going to do 120 damage. And so this is kind of how the matchup is supposed to go. So like I said, I'm just trying to poke Steven's Gardevoirs for a little bit of damage and then kind of come in and finish them off. So here Steven is actually going to get Perilous City. That's a pretty big card here, and he's going to Professor Sycamore. So Perilous City is going to limit my bench size to 3, unfortunately. But luckily I do have 3 different kind of like Gardevoir pieces in play. I have the Octillery, so if there's any Pokemon I want locked into play, it's going to be these Pokemon anyway. So the only downside is I won't be able to play like a Tapu Lele GX to bail myself out. And so Steven, I definitely think he's playing this pretty well. He's going to Max Potion his own Gardevoir, and then he's probably just going to do the same to me, kind of poke me for a little bit of damage to set up a knockout for next turn. And here he is going to get that Octillery into play as well. So definitely a much better game from Steven. Last game he definitely struggled to get out his Gardevoir pieces and all that type of stuff. And he's going to draw a few more cards. So we got a few more Fairy Energy he could start attaching to his bench Gardevoir if he wants to. Here's just going to do 60. What I really need here is Max Potion. This kind of has me in a tricky situation. So I'm going to evolve into the Gallade. I think that's fine. What I can do here is I can actually attach to Gallade. Gallade's actually a pretty good attacker in the Gardevoir mirror as well. And here I think I misplayed just a little bit. I forgot to use Gallade's Premonition to look at the top 5 cards in my deck and rearrange them. But luckily, I still have some cards to work with. So here I'm going to Ultra Ball away this Curlia. And oh, okay. So I wanted to play Super Rod. That's what it was. So I'm going to Super Rod a couple Pokemon back into my deck. So I think that was kind of like an awkward, a little little situation right there. I definitely should have Premonition first, and here I'm just going to end. So I really just want to make sure that I hit a Fairy Energy to retreat. I think that's what I'm doing. I think I'm just trying to thin some extra cards out of my deck to ensure that I get what I need this turn. Okay, so even if I do whiff the Fairy Energy, if I get a Max Potion, that would also be good. And unfortunately, Steven accidentally flipped over a Max Potion as the top card of my deck, so a Judge is going to shuffle it back up for me, which is unfortunate because that would have been such an important card. But I do still draw into it, so I got a little lucky there. So I can attach the 2 Fairy Energy or retreat. I can promote the Gallade, and I could play the Max Potion, but I might actually not be in danger of being knocked out, so it would be a little risky to leave the damage, but I think it's fine to heal the Gardevoir as well. So I'm going to do 130 to this Gardevoir GX, and one thing that's nice about Gallade, it forces Gardevoir GX to have 3 energy to knock it out. So if they do get the 3 energy to knock it out, well, guess what that means? It's easier for my Gardevoir GX next turn to come in and take a return knockout. So let's see what Steven's going to opt to do this turn. Looks like he might be eyeing down a Guzma play. So that is actually slightly annoying. Octillery is my boy. He's been helping me draw cards throughout this series. And he's going to Max Potion off his own Gardevoir. So, like I said, the Max Potions are in full effect here. Okay, and here he's going to Ultra Ball away. Look like a Curlia, and I could not see the other card. going for a curly of his own. So he did kind of a weird play, just like I did there. Just playing down his hand, probably so he can use Abyssal Hand. So let's see what he's going to draw this time. So here he does get the Fairy Energy. He will be able to take the knockout on Octillery, but I gotta say, I feel okay. I'm not sure if I have Draw Supporter in hand or not, but... Okay, so actually what I can do is I can soften up this this Gardevoir. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to go the Gallade route, because I want to commit the least amount of energy to Gardevoir as possible to take these knockouts. I always want to be the Gardevoir player who has the least amount of energy. So here I'm going to use Premonition. Look at the top 5 cards of my deck, rearrange them in any order. I see a Guzma there, that could be good. I see an Ultra Ball, so that if I'm not sure if I have a Lele in hand or not, but if I don't, maybe going the Ultra Ball route would be good, because that would give me some flexibility over what type of draw supporter, or what type of supporter in general that I get. I think I saw a Field Blower there, so that also could be good. So we'll have to see. Like I said, I'm not sure which route I should go. I can't see every card in my hand, but definitely don't need the rare candy that's there. It's kind of useless at this point. And so, yeah, here we're just going to do the 130 to the Gardevoir GX. And here Steven is going to draw for turn, it looks like, and gets a Fairy Energy. So starting to set up another Gardevoir GX for whenever I maybe take out this active one. And here he's just going to end both of us. So probably saw also that I had rearranged the top 5 cards in my deck, put them in the exact order that I wanted. So end, even if I didn't draw them with Octillery, end still helps balance that out and ensure that I don't get exactly what I need for next turn. So I get a Max Potion and a Guzma. That's actually pretty good as well. So Steven has a whopping 3 Gardevoir GX in play. It's pretty wild right now. So he's definitely in a good spot here. And here I don't know what we are discussing, but anyway, so going to promote Gardevoir GX. The only good side is I have bench space finally to use to start benching other things. So let's see what I'm going to do here. I have the Super Rod, so I could actually maybe start setting up Octillery. And here I think I remember checking for Guzmas, because Steven is at 3 prizes. And if I set up another... Yeah, if I set up another 1 prize Pokemon or something small like Octillery, Steven could potentially take that out and then only need 1 more GX knockout to win the game. So that's something I actually remember thinking after the fact, after I Super Rod. So I started to get Octillery and Remoraid. And actually, one thing that is important to note is the rules of Top Cut. So we were actually getting pretty close on time, I think, at this point in this second game here. Our first game took probably like 35 minutes or so. Top Cut is 60 minutes. So one thing that actually happens, if in game 2, if no one has taken 4 prize cards, the game does not count and the winner of the first game actually wins. This is something I thought about after I played Super Rod. So one strategy I actually could go with is literally just to stall Steven by playing Guzmas and playing Max Potions and things like that. So that is actually a strategy that I could potentially have at my disposal if the traditional just, knocking things out with Gardevoir doesn't work as well. So let's see how Steven's going to respond here. I'd be surprised if he took a knockout. I only have 1 energy on Gardevoir GX. And here he's just going to do 90 damage thanks to that Choice Band that he has on Gardevoir. And here I draw the Remoraid, and I remember at this point, this is about when I started to think, maybe I can just go for the Guzma type of plays and just try to stall stuff. I might actually legitimately be able to win the whole series just by this game not completing. So what I could actually do here is I could almost play this matchup kind of like a Wailord or something like that, where you literally just try to survive by playing, very low amounts of energy and stuff like that. But at the same time, I also don't know how many minutes are left actually in the round. So that's one thing I have to keep in mind here. So I'm kind of attaching a little bit of energy just in case, but I'm thinking maybe in hindsight, maybe the best route here would be to actually just not attach any energy. And maybe just shuffle in, Guzmas and max potions and all that type of stuff just back into my deck. So here I'm going to Ultra Ball. Let's see, I could grab a Tapu Lele GX potentially. I have a Lele in hand, so I think I'm just going to grab the Octillery, thin it out of my deck. So yeah, you can kind of see here at this point I've recognized, well, wait, I can just Twilight, get 10 cards out of my discard pile back to my deck. If I could just survive long enough and prevent Steven from taking one more knockout, I could actually just win that way. So yeah, as you can see, I'm going for the max potions, going for Field Blower, double colorless energy. I'm giving myself some options to take knockouts if I choose to, but I think really what's going to be important here is just staying alive. I think getting Guzma's back is going to be a good play as well. Looks like I'm eyeing it down. I definitely think I should go for it. I do have a lot of draw supporters in the discard pile though, so it might be important to go that route. So you can kind of see, I don't really know what exactly I want to do. Do I want to commit to the entire max potion tanking strategy or not? So like I said, I'm giving myself some options just in case I do have to, just kind of like stall Steven out. But at the same time, or I'm sorry, if I actually want to win instead of stalling it out with Guzmas and max potions and stuff like that. So we'll see how this goes. Definitely an interesting point in the game here. So we'll have to see how Steven is going to respond this turn. Alright, so then Steven is going to start his turn. And he does have a double colorless energy, so he unfortunately will be able to retreat this Octillery pretty easily. And looks like he has a Super Rod, so I'm sure he wants to get some resources back. Probably just a bunch of energy. That's going to be the way he is going to be able to win this matchup for sure at this point. Honestly, I think I still have enough resources at my disposal to just flat out win, but I feel like the safer route is kind of going the tanking strategy like I've talked about. So Steven is starting to commit some extra energy to this Gardevoir. And here, let's see what he's going to opt to do. Okay, it looks like Steven's actually going to Twilight of his own. So maybe he hasn't realized, well, I guess he probably doesn't know yet, that I'm probably going to go for this kind of like stall out strategy. And once I saw Steven Twilight, this kind of cemented it for me because, it's going to take a minute for him to search his discard pile and just decide what he wants to get back into his deck, which runs down the clock a little bit more too. So once he went the Twilight route, this kind of, like I said, kind of cemented this strategy in my head for how I want to approach the rest of this matchup. So he's getting that max potions. I don't really care about that. Man, I'm not going to hit you for much damage the rest of this game. That's my game plan at least. So maybe that's how I go. Maybe I just keep Guzman Octillery. Let's see. And I draw a max potion, so I mean, I could go for Lele, but okay, so I am gonna go for the Lele, grabbing a Sycamore. Okay. So I think this is a bit of a misplay on my part because going the whole stall strategy, like this is my first time actually watching the footage, doing the commentary. I'm thinking maybe in hindsight, if I'm going to play Lele, should have just gone for the Guzma and forced the Octillery in the active spot. And Lele also does, kind of make it a little bit easier for Steven to take a knockout. So yeah, I think it's actually might have been a misplay. I think maybe the better route for me to go was literally just keep like attaching energies to my Gardevoir and just passing. Like attaching energies to retreat, that way I can basically have 0 energies in play and then just passing. But so let's see what Steven's going to do here. He's going to go for a Lele of his own. Probably going for Sycamore. Yep, that seems pretty good. Get him a new hand of 7. He might consider using Abyssal Hand before. Oh no, he has too big of a hand. He's just going to have to flat out Sycamore there. Alright, so it looks like Steven has a double Carlos energy. I think I saw a max potion in there as well. So I think his only option really this turn is to just attach the double Carlos energy and retreat into the fresh Gardevoir. He can use the max potion to heal off that one as well if he chooses to. And then he can just use his new Gardevoir to hit for like 90 damage, I think it'll be. And I forget if it was this turn or not, but on one of Steven's turns, time was called, and it actually might even be this turn because it looks like he has taken a minute to decide what he wants to do. But basically, the judges came over and basically let us know. I think time was called in or out, and they kind of explain, you know, what that really means for the rest of this game. So, in a best 2 out of 3 series like this in Top Cut, in Game 2 of the series, if neither player takes 4 or more prizes, then the game actually does not even count, and the winner of Game 1 actually wins the whole series. So I think they were just double checking the rules to make sure they told us correctly, and I think they're just letting us know time was called. Either time was called this turn, or it'll be Steven's next turn. My memory is a little fuzzy, so I do apologize, but they are just explaining you know, all of the rules to us about that here. I believe it is. So if that's the case, Steven just has to basically take 1 more prize, because also another thing in a best 2 out of 3 like this, if in the event that the game doesn't actually conclude by one player taking all of their prizes, the player that has taken the most prizes will win, if of course they've taken 4 or more prizes. So this is actually really important to note, because if Steven takes 1 more knockout, that'll put him at 1 prize, whereas if I take 1 knockout, that'll put me at 2. So I basically am just trying to prevent Steven from taking any prizes at all. I'm not trying to even take all of mine at this point, because, you know, I just don't think I'm going to be able to pull that off. So I basically have to do everything I can to prevent Steven from taking 1 last prize, probably on this Gardevoir on my bench or the Tapu Lele GX. So pretty sure that's all that was going on here. So we'll have to see, you know, how Steven's going to react. So he is going to retreat the DC. I'm happy to see that hit the discard pile. That's going to be a key card that would normally kind of help him, you know, seal up this game. And here he's going to max potion off that Gardevoir. And then just attack me for 90 damage. So that's going to be fine. And I believe I have a max potion in hand. So, yes, I believe that, yeah, time was called. Steven was turn 0, I'm turn 1. Steven will get 1 more turn, and then I will get 1 more turn. So that's how the rest of this game is going to go. So like I said, I just need to prevent Steven from taking a knockout, so that means I need to max potion. That's going to be the big thing. If I can also maybe Guzma up something. Like, I don't know that Steven has Guzma, but I'm thinking maybe I need to Guzma up Octillery. If I have a way to do that, that'd be fine as well. But the big thing I need is max potion. I thought I had one in hand, but I guess it was a choice band. So I think what I do is, I think I attach the DCE to potentially retreat in the event that I don't get a max potion. And I could also potentially bench a Lele and try to get an extra supporter out of my deck to discard to increase my chances of hitting a max potion. So that's something I can do as well. And here, I guess I'm just going to take a look and see what all I've actually used at this point. So just trying to figure out what is the best way to approach this. So, and I'm also trying to think, can I actually win? That's another thing. Can I actually just win by taking prizes? So I think I'm just doing some math in my head, just trying to see how much damage that we're both going to be doing here. So even if I put a choice band on the bench with a double Carlos energy, I don't even think that'll set me up to get a knockout. So So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this Guzma out of my deck, and what I can do from here is actually Sycamore that and the rest of my hand away, and if I hit Choice Band, I'm going to be in a good spot, I think. Or not Choice Band, I'm sorry, Max Potion. I'll be able to deny Steven this knockout. Okay, so big moment of truth. You know, I think I should still attach the DCE to the active just in the event, of course, that I don't hit what I need. And so let's see if we can hit it. And there I see it. So we are going to have the max potion. I actually have 2 max potions. Not too relevant, but we did get one. That's all that matters. And here I actually messed up, guys. I do apologize. Off that Sycamore, I drew 8 cards, and luckily a judge caught it, and it's just going to reshuffle that back into my deck. So got a little hasty drawing all those cards, but luckily I hit the max potion, and we're going to be okay. And so I'm just trying to think, do I retreat into something else? Or do I just max potion the active? I think I just max potion the active, get rid of all its energy, and just let it sit there as a wall, basically. And from there, I basically just have to hope Steven does not have a way to take a knockout. It's going to be the big thing this turn. So he basically needs to knock out a Lele or this Gardevoir GX. You know, it'll take the same amount of energy either way. You know, Gardevoir normally has 230 hit points, but the 2 fairy energies on it right now are giving Steven an extra 60 damage. So either way, a Lele knockout or that Gardevoir knockout will win him the game. So he actually can pull it off, which is the scary thing. It's a lot to ask for. He has kind of a big hand, so he might not be able to play a whole lot of cards down to use Abyssal Hand with. But he has the Guzma. That's the first part that he definitely needs. So here, Steven's probably just trying to think, you know, do I have a combination of cards in my deck left at this point to actually pull this off? So what actually Steven will need here, he'll need a double Carlos energy on his active Pokemon. He'll need to Secret Spring to his active Pokemon. He'll need a Choice Band, and he'll need to Secret Spring to something else to retreat whenever he plays Guzma. So if he has all that, then yes, he can take a Tapu Lele knockout, but it's a lot to ask for. Especially with a hand that big, he can't play it down to draw a lot of cards with his Octillery. The one good thing going for Steven though is that he's gone through what, like 2/3 of his deck, something like that. So his deck is pretty thin at this point. I'm not sure how many Choice Bands he's gone through. Most Gardevoir decks typically play about 2, so he might still have one left in the deck. I'm not sure if it's in there or not, but that would definitely be his only way to actually pull this off. So here he's just like double and triple checking his math. I bet he doesn't want to mess this up because he has one chance basically to pull it off. He has no other plays though. Like Steven just has to do this. But I kind of know the feeling. A lot of times in tournaments, especially if I'm recording the game or something like that, or if I'm on stream, you know, nerves can get the best of you, and sometimes you can think that you have a knockout, so and you might not. So you just double and triple check yourself just to make sure that you aren't going to mess up. So I completely get it. And like I mentioned earlier too in the video, we've been up basically for 12 hours playing Pokemon at this point. So we are a little bit worn out at this point. But one day, Steven, he'll get around to playing the Guzma. It's gonna happen. Like that's all he has. That's the only thing he can do here. And yeah, come on, Steven, make a move, man. You know what you gotta do. Just do it. Get the 2 cards that you need off the Octillery and win. That's that's the game plan, man. Okay, so he's gonna Guzma up the Guardy. And moment of truth, if he hits the 2 cards he needs, he wins. But that's a rare candy and a max potion, so an equally useless card. So unfortunately for Steven, he is not going to be able to take a knockout. He would have needed, like I said, a fairy energy to Secret Spring onto this Alolan Vulpix to retreat, and a choice band to get the last 30 damage he needs to take a knockout on this Gardevoir. And that's going to be it, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately for Steven, I'm actually pretty happy I got to go on to the finals. But yeah, guys, definitely stay tuned. We do have the finals match coming up. Definitely a crazy Gardevoir mirror match. Lots of weird, unorthodox strategies. We saw us going the aggro Lele route in the first game. Then in the second game, I'm going the whole, just like stalling Steven, just trying to max potion and prevent him from taking knockouts and, all that type of stuff. So definitely a fun little series, if nothing else. But like I said, yeah, we have a finals match coming up, so I'll be sure to have a link to that too whenever that is live. But as usual, guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to support us over on patreon.com/rarecandytcg or at our online store at rarecandytcg.com. It would be greatly appreciated. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.